chosen one. Pause for a moment. Heaven itself leans close to whisper into your spirit. You have pressed and fought. Endured nights when your soul felt stretched thin like parchment in the fire. You have prayed when no one else believed. You have walked on roads where your footprints alone marked the dust. And now, listen carefully, your work is done. You are called to rest. Rest does not mean failure. Rest does not mean weakness. Rest is a divine signal. It is heaven's trumpet announcing, "Lay down the sword. The battle is already written in your favor." There is a sacred moment when striving ceases and trust begins. And you, chosen one, have reached that moment. I want you to see yourself not as exhausted, but as one who has completed a long journey through wilderness. Think of the traveler who has crossed desert dunes, sand pressing against weary legs. He sees in the distance not mirages, but the first palm trees of an oasis. That is you. Your soul is thirsty, but the well is already dug. Your work has tilled the ground, and now God says, drink and rest. Scripture speaks through the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Chosen one, that peace is your inheritance. Not the world's shallow peace that depends on circumstances, but the eternal rest of Christ that enters your bones like fresh wind after battle. This is not a call to collapse in defeat, but to rise in effortless trust. One season asked you to sweat in the field, but this season asks you to stretch your wings and let the Spirit carry you higher. I recall the story of one chosen one who labored for years in obscurity. She worked tirelessly in silence, giving her best when no applause followed. For her, rest felt like quitting, until God interrupted her with a dream. In the dream, she was trying to push a heavy cart uphill, muscles straining, hands bleeding. Suddenly, a voice told her, "Let go." When she obeyed, the cart didn't roll back as she feared. It was lifted by unseen hands and carried to the summit. She woke with tears, realizing the time had come not to push harder, but to release. That is what God speaks to you now. Rest is not passive. Rest is active faith. When you rest, you declare, "I trust my Father more than my own effort." Rest says, "The outcome is no longer my burden. It is heaven's." Even in creation, God worked 6 days, and on the seventh he rested. And yet the universe did not unravel. The stars still burned. The rivers still flowed. Creation itself was teaching us that divine rest is not an interruption. It is part of the design. So I urge you, stop measuring your worth by constant movement. Stop believing the lie that silence equals emptiness. Rest is where heaven speaks clearest. Have you not noticed that the shepherd leads his sheep beside still waters, not raging torrents? That stillness is where your soul is restored. Picture it, a lighthouse standing firm on a cliff. Storm waves crash. Winds howl. But the light continues to shine. The lighthouse does not strain to shine brighter. It simply stands where it was placed, trusting its foundation. That is you, chosen one. Your rest is the posture that keeps your light burning even through the storm. And yes, there will be more blessings than you have imagined. Yes, the harvest is already ripening, but the first instruction is not to gather. The first instruction is to rest. Only in rest can you recognize what belongs to you and what is counterfeit. Chosen one. The Spirit is releasing you from unnecessary striving. You have planted. You have watered. You have endured. Now, watch as God gives the increase. Before you leave this moment, I ask you to do something simple. Type the number 777 inches the comments, not as superstition, but as a prophetic act. 7 is the number of completion, and threefold, 7 is the divine seal over your life. By writing it, you are declaring, my work is complete. I step into God's rest. And if this word has stirred something inside you, share it with another weary soul. Like the gentle ripple of water, your act of sharing could refresh someone on the edge of giving up. Subscribe if you have not yet, because the journey of revelation continues, and each word will strengthen the wings God has already given you. Chosen one. Let your heart breathe. The chapter of labor has closed. The page of rest is turning. Lift your face, for heaven smiles over you. Chosen one. The quiet verdict has already been spoken over your life. Heaven has reviewed your tears, counted your steps, measured your faith, and written across the record of your struggle one word: complete. This verdict does not shout with thunder. It does not shake mountains. It arrives softly, like dew settling on grass in the early morning. And yet, its power is undeniable. Think of a courtroom where all the arguments have ended. The judge raises his voice for the final time, and silence falls. The gavel comes down, and every bystander knows the decision is sealed. That is what has happened in the courts of heaven concerning you. The striving you once thought necessary has already been brought before the judge of all, and the judgment was in your favor. Often you doubted whether your labor mattered, the nights you prayed alone, when your words seemed to echo into emptiness, felt wasted. The sacrifices you made, choosing righteousness when compromise would have been easier, seemed invisible. Yet none of it was forgotten. The unseen hand of God was gathering every seed you sowed. Every whispered prayer became evidence in your case. Every act of faith, a testimony that built toward this verdict: your work is done. Now rest. The ancient words recorded in the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 10, remind us, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him, as you have helped his people and continue to help them. Chosen one. God is not unjust toward you. He has not overlooked you. Your labor has already been presented as worship before his throne. That is why this quiet verdict is so significant. It means heaven has closed the book of toil and opened the book of reward. I remember the story of a man who spent years building ships. For decades, he crafted wooden frames, hammered planks, and sealed vessels with tar. He worked tirelessly, but storms destroyed many of his creations. At last, he felt weary, convinced his skill had been wasted. Yet one day, a nobleman approached, purchasing a ship the man had built years earlier. That single vessel carried the nobleman safely across a violent sea. The builder realized none of his effort was wasted. That is your life. Chosen one. What you thought disappeared into silence was already marked for appointed impact. Heaven's quiet verdict affirms that the season of unseen labor has fulfilled its design. The verdict also carries peace. You no longer need to prove your worth to anyone. The misunderstanding of others, the rejection, The times people dismissed your calling, they no longer hold weight against you. The judge has already declared the truth. Imagine walking out of a courtroom knowing the case is closed and you are free. That is the weight lifting from your spirit now. Even creation reflects this principle. When a tree has fully grown its fruit, it no longer strains to push upward. Its season of stretching is done. Now it simply stands, bearing what was cultivated in hidden years. Likewise, you are entering the fruit-bearing season. Striving is not the demand anymore. Receiving is. But here lies the tension. Resting after a lifetime of striving feels unnatural. You may feel guilty for not pushing harder, as if peace were laziness. Yet the Spirit whispers, peace is proof you are aligned with me. The world tells you rest is weakness, but heaven tells you rest is maturity. This verdict also means your identity is secure. You are not defined by the tasks you complete, but by the one who called you. Think of a child who finishes a school year. The grades are sealed, the report given, and summer begins. The child does not keep studying for the same test. The season has ended. In the same way, God has closed the exam book over you. Chosen one. The quiet verdict over your life is meant to silence your inner critic. Those voices telling you, you haven't done enough. You should try harder. You don't deserve to rest. Are lies. Heaven's verdict drowns them out. You have done what was required in this season. And now, God is shifting the rhythm of your days. Take a moment to imagine a field after harvest. The soil is bare. The tools are laid aside, and the farmer sits on his porch watching the sunset. There is no guilt in that pause. There is only gratitude, anticipation, and trust that the land will bear again in its time. That is where you are standing. So receive this verdict deeply into your spirit. Do not rush past it. Let it soak in like rain after drought. This is not just a gentle suggestion. It is heaven's decree. Your striving season has closed. Your testimony has been sealed. And the Lord himself has whispered the words you long to hear. Well done. Now, rest. Chosen one. Release the weight. You have carried burdens that were never meant to be chained to your shoulders. Some of them were placed there by others' expectations, comparisons, false judgments. Some of them you picked up yourself, guilt from the past, fear of failure, the constant demand to do more. These weights have pressed you down, but heaven is now commanding you. Lay them aside. There is a reason Scripture often uses the imagery of a race. A runner does not carry heavy baggage on the track. To run with endurance, one must strip down to essentials. You too, chosen one, are being called to let go of what slows you, so you can move with freedom. According to the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 1, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. The race is already marked. Your path is not random. But to reach the finish, release is necessary. Guilt cannot run beside you. Fear cannot keep pace with you. Shame has no seat in the stadium of heaven. I remember the story of a woman who held on to broken pieces of her past. Every mistake was like a stone she placed in her backpack. As years passed, the bag grew heavier. She prayed for strength to keep walking, not realizing God was inviting her to take the backpack off. One day, in a moment of surrender, she laid it down. The lightness shocked her. For the first time, She saw the sky without stooping under weight. She understood then that God never asked her to carry the stones. He only asked her to follow him. Chosen one. That story mirrors your own. You have prayed for strength to keep carrying. But the greater strength is in releasing. Imagine a bird trying to fly with its claws clutching a chain. The wings are strong, but the chain drags it down. Release is the doorway to flight. You may ask, how do I release? It begins with naming the weight. Say it aloud in prayer. I release fear. I release shame. I release the need to prove myself. Do not minimize the act. Words have power. Heaven responds when you declare release. Then, choose daily not to pick the weight back up. Each time the old thought rises, speak again, that is not mine to carry. Oh, release also means forgiving yourself. Many of the weights you carry are wounds from your own choices, but the cross has already dealt with those. To keep carrying them is to deny what Jesus already finished. Freedom begins where you agree with his finished work. Chosen one. You are lighter than you think. Your spirit is not fragile, it is only cluttered with what no longer belongs. The Spirit is sweeping your inner room, removing debris, so the wind of God can flow freely again. This is why I want you to take a bold step right now. Write these 3 words in the comments. I let go. Oh, not as a cliché, but as a declaration. By typing those words, you are stepping into agreement with heaven. You are saying, I am no longer defined by what I carried. I step into freedom. Sometimes release needs an action, a gesture, even something as simple as writing. It becomes a marker in time you can look back on. This was the day I let go. Picture yourself standing at a riverbank. You hold a bundle of heavy stones. One by one, you throw them into the water. The current swallows them, and they sink out of sight. You do not chase them downstream. You trust the river has taken them where they can no longer burden you. That is the image of release God is giving you today. Chosen one. You are not empty when you release. You are making space for peace, for joy, for blessings you have not even imagined yet. A vessel cannot be filled if it is already full. Your release is your preparation to be filled. So, take courage. The weight is coming off your shoulders. You are stepping into the freedom of one who no longer drags chains, but walks as a child of light. Heaven smiles when you finally let go. And remember this, release is not a one-time act. It is a rhythm. Every day, you are invited to open your hands again. Each time you surrender the old weight, you give God room to place something new: wisdom, strength, and joy beyond measure. That is how release becomes transformation. Chosen one. The reward is nearer than you think. For a long season, your hands were busy with unseen work. You planted seeds no one noticed, watered ground no one believed would bear fruit, and endured storms that seemed endless. Now heaven invites you to take inventory, not of what you lost, but of what is coming. Think of it like a storeroom, prepared long ago. Shelves lined with jars of provision, gifts wrapped and labeled with your name, doors locked until the appointed time. That time is opening now. The Spirit is saying, look, this was always yours. It has been waiting for you. End of. According to what is revealed in the book of Psalms, chapter 31, verse 19, how abundant are the good things that you have stored up for those who fear you. that you bestow in the sight of all, on those who take refuge in you. And your reward is not accidental. It is stored up. It is measured, counted, and preserved until the right moment. What is coming is not random, it is deliberate fulfillment. Some rewards will come in relationships, people sent not to drain you, but to strengthen you. For years, you walked with those who misunderstood you. Now, new alignments are forming, friendships and partnerships heaven has handpicked for your next season. Other rewards will be in provision. You labored without seeing return, but the work was never wasted. The accounts of heaven have been balancing in your favor. Expect doors to open you did not force. Expect resources to appear in ways you could not have engineered. Still, more rewards will be within you: peace, clarity, joy. The storm you endured sharpened your discernment. Where once you doubted, now you recognize God's hand quickly. Where once you felt fragile, now you carry unshakable peace. This inner reward is greater than riches, for it equips you to steward every other blessing without fear of loss. I think of a farmer who worked year after year with little return. His neighbors mocked him, saying the soil was too poor, but he kept tending it. One day, when rain finally came, dormant seeds sprouted all at once, covering his fields in gold. His neighbors stood amazed, realizing his persistence had unlocked a harvest waiting for the right conditions. Chosen one. That is your story. The ground you thought was barren was only waiting for heaven's season. Now, at the appointed time, the harvest is rising, and your inventory is filling. Do not think only in material terms. Some of your greatest rewards are intangible, yet priceless. Peace that guards your mind like a fortress. Wisdom that guides your steps in every decision. Courage that steadies you when others tremble. These are rewards no thief can steal. Picture yourself entering a treasury. At first, you expect coins and jewels, but instead, you see scrolls each containing wisdom, strategy, revelation written for you. You see garments, robes of dignity, replacing shame. You see oil's symbol of anointing, poured out to empower you for the next assignments. This is your inventory, more valuable than gold. The inventory also includes restoration. Things you thought lost are being returned in unexpected ways. A broken dream is reborn, not in its old form, but renewed, stronger, untouchable. A relationship thought severed is replaced with one healthier, rooted in truth. Time you thought wasted becomes redeemed, condensed into wisdom that accelerates your progress. This is why it is important to see your inventory clearly. If you only expect one kind of blessing, you may miss the fullness of what is arriving. Heaven does not release partial rewards, it releases wholeness. So, begin to notice. Pay attention to small signs, the conversation that opens a new path, the encouragement that confirms your direction, the sudden peace that settles where fear once ruled. These are not random, they are first glimpses of your inventory delivered piece by piece. And remember, this inventory is not earned by perfection. It is given because you remained faithful. The one who sees in secret is rewarding you openly. Your part was obedience. His part is increase. Chosen one. The shelves of heaven are opening to you, not because you demanded, not because you strove harder, but because the appointed time has come. The storeroom marked with your name is no longer locked. The scrolls, the garments, the oil, they are being placed in your hands. Stand ready. Lift your eyes from the emptiness of yesterday. For fullness is here. Heaven is not only promising, it is delivering. This is your reward inventory. And it is unfolding now. Chosen one. You have heard the call to rest. But now you must also learn to see rest as resistance. In a world that glorifies endless work, constanoise, and relentless striving, choosing to rest is a holy rebellion. It is saying to the systems of this world, I will not be enslaved by pressure. I will not be owned by fear. I live under a higher rhythm. Rest is not laziness. Rest is warfare. Every time you allow your soul to breathe, you are breaking chains the enemy hoped would choke you. Every time you step aside from endless anxiety, you are declaring with your life, God is my provider, not my striving. Oh, think of the Sabbath that God ordained. It was not just a suggestion for tired people. It was a weapon against slavery. Israel had lived in Egypt, where Pharaoh demanded unending labor. No breaks, no days off, just bricks and whips. But when God set his people free, he gave them rest as a command. The Sabbath was proof. You are no longer slaves. You belong to me. According to the book of Exodus, chapter 33, verse 14, the Lord said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Chosen one. That promise is for you. God himself is giving you rest, not as an option, but as a gift of freedom. Now, let me show you a picture. Imagine a soldier who lays down his sword, not because the war is lost, but because the victory has already been won. His rest does not dishonor his fight. It proves the triumph. That is what you are doing. When you rest, you are laying down the sword, not in weakness, but in victory. This truth must sink deep. Rest is resistance. Rest tells every lie of scarcity to be silent. Rest declares that your life is held in the hands of God, not in the grasp of fear. And as you hear this, I want to pause for a gentle moment. If these words are watering your spirit, if you feel chains breaking as you listen, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, not as a favor to me, but as if you were planting small seeds in a wide garden. Every interaction is like dropping one more seed into the soil of countless hearts. You may never see all the trees that grow, but heaven will. There is also another way you can join in this movement of light, through donating. Imagine a lighthouse on a stormy coast. One beam of light may guide a single ship, but when others join to keep the flame burning, the entire sea becomes safer for travelers. Your giving is like adding oil to that lighthouse, making sure the flame does not flicker out, but continues to pierce the night for someone still searching for shore. Hear this clearly. Blessings are not for sale. Donating is not a condition, but a choice, a free act of love. Whether you pour out a drop or a jar, you are saying, let this light shine further. Let it reach the weary who cannot yet see the dawn. Oh, think of a river flowing through a valley. When you open your hand to give, you are digging channels that allow the river to reach more land. The river is God's presence, and your generosity becomes the channel. In this way, giving is not about losing, it is about multiplying the reach of what God is doing. So hear me clearly. You are under no demand. This is not about pressure. This is an open invitation to be part of something larger than yourself. Just as rest is a form of resistance, generosity is too. Both say, I am not ruled by fear, but by trust in God. La, chosen one. Let this encouragement stay with you. Your rest terrifies the enemy. Because when you stop striving and start trusting, you prove where your strength truly comes from. And when you choose to give, not out of compulsion, but out of freedom, you prove that your heart belongs to heaven, not to fear of lack. So today, rest as a warrior. Rest as one who knows the victory is already secured. And if your heart feels stirred, light a candle with us through your like, your share, your subscription, or even your donation, not as duty, but as joy, for every flame matters. And together we are building a fire that no darkness can extinguish. And remember this, even the smallest flame can ignite hope. Your simple act, done in faith, may be the spark that helps another weary soul finally find their way home. Chosen one. One of the greatest battles you have faced is not with swords or storms, but with words. The false narratives spoken over you, whispered into your mind, have been heavy chains. Lies like, you are not enough, you are too late, you will never rise. These are not your voice, not God's voice. They are echoes from the enemy, designed to rob your rest. Today, heaven commands you to unplug from these narratives. Pull the cord, shut down the noise, release the power they have held over you. For what you continue to hear, you eventually believe, and what you believe, you eventually live. It is time to break that cycle. The prophet Jeremiah records the promise of God in chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. No, notice this. God does not say, I might have plans, or I hope it works out. He declares certainty. Your life is not shaped by accident or random misfortune. It is crafted by design. The lies of the enemy are loud, but the truth of God is eternal. I once knew a young woman who was constantly told she would never succeed. Teachers dismissed her. Friends mocked her. Even family doubted her. Their words became a cage. But one night, she read this very promise in Jeremiah. She wrote it down and placed it on her mirror. Each morning, she repeated it aloud. God has plans for me. Over time, her heart shifted. She pursued opportunities she once feared, and doors opened that had always seemed locked. Today, she testifies that her life turned not because of louder effort, but because she unplugged from false narratives and tuned into God's chosen one. You too must decide which frequency you will live by. If you keep your ear to lies, you will walk in fear. If you set your heart on truth, you will walk in courage. Think of an old radio, filled with static until you turn the dial just right. Suddenly the voice comes through clear. That is how the Spirit works. He has always been speaking, but you must tune out the static to hear him. The lies you've believed are like weeds in a garden. They grow fast. They choke life, and they multiply when left unchecked. But today, the gardener himself is pulling them out. With every root removed, new space is made for truth to grow. Chosen one, you are not what they said. You are not the mistake you regret. You are not the failure you fear. You are a carrier of light, anointed for this very moment. There is power in replacing the false with the true. Each time the thought comes, "I am forgotten," respond with, "I am engraved on the palms of his hands." When the whisper says, "I am weak," declare, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." This is how you unplug, not by silence alone, but by filling the silence with truth. I want you to do something prophetic right now. Type this number in the comments, 5,555. Why this number? Because 5 is the number of grace, and 4 5s declare overflowing, multiplied grace. By writing it, you are proclaiming, "Grace is greater than the lies. Grace is my new story." It is not superstition, it is alignment. It is you standing in agreement with heaven. Remember the image of a puppet bound by strings. Lies are like those strings, pulling you into movements that were never yours. But when you cut the cords, you stand free, able to walk in your own God-given rhythm. Today is a cord-cutting day. Chosen one. Do not fear the silence that comes when lies are gone. In that silence, God will speak. His truth is not harsh or condemning. It is steady, tender, and strong. He will remind you who you really are. Chosen, beloved, destined. From this moment forward, unplugging is no longer a one-time act. It is a lifestyle. Each day, you choose which voice has authority, and each day, you will grow lighter, freer, stronger, as the false fades and the true shines. So let your heart rest. Let the lies fall. Let truth rebuild you. For the narratives that once held you captive are broken, and the future that once felt stolen is already returning to your hands. So let your heart rest. Let the lies fall. Let truth rebuild you. For the narratives that once held you captive are broken, and the future that once felt stolen is already returning to your hands. And know this, each step you now take is not in reaction to lies, but in alignment with truth. Every choice forward becomes testimony that God's story overrules every false word. Chosen one. When heaven speaks, it rarely arrives with fanfare. The great signs, thunder, fire, earthquakes are dramatic, but more often God confirms His promises in the smallest of ways. That is why you must learn to recognize the signs in small things. Consider the prophet Elijah. He expected God's presence in the wind, in the quake, in the fire. But the voice came instead as a gentle whisper. That same whisper is at work in your life. You may expect your confirmation in mighty demonstrations, yet God prefers to speak through the details, ordinary moments that carry extraordinary meaning. It was proclaimed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6, "In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." End of. Acknowledging God means paying attention even in the ordinary. The way a stranger offers unexpected kindness, the way a phrase in a book or a song seems to pierce straight into your heart, the way a door quietly closes, sparing you from a path that looked attractive but carried hidden danger. These are not accidents, they are heaven's way of directing your steps. I recall the story of a man waiting for breakthrough. He begged God for a dramatic sign, something so unmistakable that it would erase his doubt. For weeks, nothing happened. Then, one morning, as he walked to work, a small bird landed directly in his path. It carried a piece of bread, dropped it near his feet, and flew away. He remembered Jesus' words about the Father feeding the birds of the air, and suddenly he understood. If God provides even for sparrows, how much more would he provide for him? That small encounter was the sign he had been asking for. Though it came wrapped in simplicity, chosen one. Do not despise small signs. They are like pebbles dropped into water. The ripples reach farther than you first imagine. A small word of encouragement can be God's way of telling you, I see you. Keep going. A delay in your plans may feel frustrating, but it may also be heaven's way of placing you in the right place at the right time. Think of a painter working on a canvas. To the casual eye, the tiny strokes seem insignificant, but together, they form the masterpiece. In the same way, the small signs in your life are brushstrokes of a divine painting. You may not see the full image yet, but each detail is intentional. Some signs come in repeated patterns. You may notice a particular number appearing, a phrase echoing through conversations, or a theme resurfacing again and again. These repetitions are not coincidence. They are heaven's way of underlining a truth you need to embrace. Other signs come in fleeting impressions, the sudden peace you feel when you consider one path, or the unease when you consider another. Peace and unrest are often God's compass in disguise. There are also the signs that come through creation itself. The beauty of a sunrise, the resilience of a tree that continues to grow through cracks in concrete, the rhythm of waves meeting the shore. All these speak of God's character. They are reminders that you, too, are sustained, resilient, and renewed day by day. The danger is to overlook these signs because they are quiet. Many wait for lightning while ignoring the candle flame right before them. Yet the candle is what lights the room. So train your eyes to notice. Train your heart to listen. The Spirit will often confirm His promises through the smallest details of your everyday. Chosen one. I encourage you to reflect on your recent days. Has there been a phrase you cannot shake, a door that closed just as you prayed for direction, a sudden encounter that left you strangely assured? Do not dismiss these. They are the language of heaven. Even your own body can carry signs. Fatigue can be God's way of saying, rest now. A surge of joy may be His whisper, this is the right path. The Spirit who dwells in you uses both external and internal signs to guide you into alignment. So walk gently through your days, paying attention. The world may see coincidences, but you know better. Each sign is evidence that your journey is not random but orchestrated. Each small confirmation is proof that you are not forgotten. Remember, mighty rivers are fed by small streams. Likewise, the great fulfillment of God's promises in your life is built from these small signs. Trust them. Follow them. Let them reassure you that the one who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. Chosen one. Look closely at your household, for it is the first place where heaven's rearrangement will appear. When God begins to pour out provision, He does not always start with distant lands or lofty platforms. He begins where you live, among those you love, in the rhythms of your daily life. Provision is not only money, it is order in chaos, peace in tension, clarity where confusion ruled. Many cry for blessings, but forget that the home is the soil where seeds of abundance must first take root. If your house is heavy with strife, if your heart is clouded with worry, then even great opportunities can feel empty. That is why God first breathes into your household before enlarging your territory. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 128. Verse 2. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. This word is not abstract, it is personal. To eat the fruit of your labor means to see with your own eyes, in your own household, the results of your endurance. Prosperity does not always roar in like a storm. Sometimes it tiptoes into your kitchen through a peaceful conversation after years of conflict. Sometimes it settles into your living room as laughter returning, where silence once dominated. I remember the story of a father who prayed for financial breakthrough. He wanted more money, more stability, more opportunities. But before the breakthrough came, something else shifted. His children, who had been distant and rebellious, began sitting with him at the table again. They started sharing their hearts, and reconciliation grew. Soon after, unexpected provision arrived. He realized the true blessing was not only in his wallet, but in the restoration of his family. Chosen one. This is the order of God. He establishes peace before he multiplies increase. A table surrounded by strife cannot carry the weight of abundance. But when reconciliation and order fill the home, the harvest can be enjoyed without fear. Look for these changes in your own life. You may notice arguments that once erupted suddenly lose their sting. Conversations once shallow now carry depth. Relationships that felt fractured begin to mend, even within your own heart. A calmness settles where anxiety once shouted. These are not small things, they are heaven's way of building your household of provision. Provision also flows into practical needs. Do not think God ignores the physical. Just as he fed Israel with manna in the wilderness, he knows how to sustain you in tangible ways. Bills are paid. Doors open. Opportunities align. Not because you manipulated them, but because God is weaving provision into your daily rhythm. Yet, his provision goes deeper. He is not content with patching leaks. He rebuilds the foundation. Think of a house undergoing renovation. The scaffolding may look messy, but the goal is strength that will last for generations. In the same way, your household is being renovated. Patterns of dysfunction are being replaced with patterns of blessing. What you settle today will ripple into your children and your children's children. This is why you must learn to receive without control. Provision is not always predictable. Sometimes it arrives through unexpected people, through unconventional doors. You may expect a paycheck, but instead, help comes through a neighbor. You may expect reconciliation one way, but it comes through a small act of kindness you did not plan. Do not resist the unusual, for God delights in surprising his chosen ones. Picture a tree planted by streams of water. Its roots stretch deep, drawing sustenance even when the surface looks dry. That is your household. The provision of God is not only in visible fruit, but in hidden roots, quietly strengthening what you cannot yet see. Chosen one. Begin to notice the atmosphere of your home. The Spirit is rearranging furniture, not made of wood and fabric, but of habits and emotions. Old patterns are being shifted, new rhythms established. The very air feels different when God is preparing a household for blessing. Do not despise the process. It may begin slowly, with subtle adjustments, but these adjustments prepare you for a lasting abundance, not fleeting windfalls. And when the provision manifests, It will not feel like something you must cling to in fear, but like something natural, like rain falling on thirsty ground. So let your heart be at rest. Your household is not overlooked. Heaven's provision is not waiting on distant shores. It is already knocking on your door. Watch as the Spirit rearranges your home until peace and prosperity dwell together, and your table becomes a testimony of God's faithful care. Chosen one. Life is full of doors. Some swing wide with opportunity. Others shut firmly to protect you from harm. Learning the language of doors is one of the greatest skills a child of God can carry. For every open or closed passage is a message from heaven. Think about it when you walk through a city. Doors mark the difference between public streets and private places. To enter, you need permission. In the same way, not every opportunity is meant for you. Some doors will not open, no matter how hard you push, and that is mercy. Other doors open effortlessly, even when you feel unprepared, and that is grace. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, the first book, chapter 16, verse 9, a great door has opened for effective work to me, and there are many who oppose me. Notice the tension. A great door was opened, yet opposition remained. Open doors do not mean easy paths. They mean appointed paths. And closed doors do not mean rejection. They mean protection. I once knew a young man who prayed for a specific career. He knocked on every door, sent countless applications, begged God for favor. Each attempt ended in silence. For months he was discouraged. Yet, during that season of closed doors, he found time to serve at his church, where he met someone who later introduced him to a different job, one he had never considered, but which fit him perfectly. Looking back, he realized, if the earlier doors had opened, he would have missed the one God truly intended. Chosen one. You must see closed doors not as punishment, but as redirection. They are heaven's way of saying, not here, not now. Trust me. Every closed door keeps you aligned with your true path. At the same time, you must learn to step boldly through open doors. Often they appear intimidating, because they are larger than your strength. That is how you know they are from God. If you could manage them in your own power, they would not require faith. But when the door is greater than you, faith becomes your key. Picture a hallway lined with doors. Some are locked, some creak open. As you walk, you notice light spilling from the gaps beneath certain doors. That light is your signal. It says, here lies your next assignment. Step through. But there is wisdom needed here. Not every open door is divine. Some doors glitter with false promise, leading only to distraction. How do you discern the difference? Peace is your compass. The Spirit within you never guides with confusion. If the door stirs constant unrest, pause it. If peace fills your spirit, even amid fear, step forward. Doors also speak of timing. A locked door today may open tomorrow. Do not waste your strength breaking what heaven intends to unlock later. Trust the rhythm. God knows the exact moment when the handle will turn. Chosen one. Your journey is not random wandering. You are being guided by doors, some that open, some that close. Both are divine. Both are necessary. The map of your destiny is drawn by these thresholds. So, here is your prophetic act today. Write in the comments, I trust the doors. Oh, just 3 words, but filled with weight. When you type them, you are declaring that you no longer curse the closed doors or fear the open ones. You are saying, "Father, I trust your hand on every handle in my life." That posture of surrender releases peace that striving could never bring. Imagine standing before a massive gate. You hear the click of its lock turning, not because of your effort, but because of God's timing. As it swings open, light floods in, and you realize the wait was worth it. That is the language of doors. That is how heaven guides you. Imagine standing before a massive gate. You hear the click of its lock turning, not because of your effort, but because of God's timing. As it swings open, light floods in, and you realize the wait was worth it. That is the language of doors. That is how heaven guides you. And yet, chosen one, sometimes God allows you to stand in the hallway longer than you wish. That waiting season is not wasted. It teaches you patience, trains your discernment, and proves that your trust is not in the door itself, but in the one who holds the keys. Hallways are classrooms of faith. Other times, a door may open suddenly, before you feel ready. That too is intentional. God knows your capacity better than you do. When He calls you through, it is because He has already placed inside you the strength and wisdom required for what is ahead. So, whether the door is closed, open, or not yet unlocked, you can rest in this truth. Every threshold is under divine control. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Each step is leading you deeper into your destiny. Chosen one. The time has come for a mantle exchange. What you once carried has fulfilled its purpose, and what you are about to receive will rest on your shoulders with new weight, new authority, and new honor. It is a holy trade, the worn-out garment of labor for the robe of fulfillment, the tools of survival for the instruments of destiny. Think of the prophet Elijah when he passed his cloak to Elisha. That mantle was not just fabric, it was history, power, and responsibility wrapped into one. Elisha did not earn it. By striving, he received it. By staying faithful, by being present when the moment came. In the same way, your presence in this season qualifies you to receive what God is now laying upon you. As it is written in the book of Joshua, chapter 3, verse 7, "And the Lord said to Joshua, Today I will begin to exalt you in the eyes of all Israel, so they may know I am with you, as I was with Moses." This is what the mantle exchange means. You will not walk alone into what is next. The robe being placed on you carries not only honor, but companionship. God Himself is walking with you. Picture a marathon runner who has carried the baton for miles. Muscles ache, lungs burn. Yet the finish line draws near. At just the right moment, another runner appears, not to compete, but to take the baton forward. That is what is happening in your spirit. The old season has carried you far, but the baton of destiny is now being handed to you in fresh form. Chosen one. This exchange may feel heavy at first. A crown may press on the head, yet it is still glory. A cloak may feel thick across the shoulders, yet it is still protection. In this moment, I want to pause and speak from the heart. If this word resonates with you, if it feels like heaven itself is clothing you anew, I gently invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Think of it not as a click, but as placing another stone into a growing altar. Each stone strengthens the place where fire falls, where God's presence meets His chosen. And for those who feel stirred more deeply, you can even join this altar through donating, not as obligation, but as offering. Imagine a lamp burning late into the night. The oil that keeps it glowing is poured drop by drop, not by one person alone, but by many hands. Your giving is like adding oil to that lamp together. It ensures that the light does not dim, that messages of hope continue to shine into weary hearts. And think of it this way: a bridge across a deep valley is never built by one beam alone. It takes many planks, joined together, to carry travelers safely to the other side. Your donation is like laying down a plank on that bridge, so that someone weary can cross from despair into hope. Do not misunderstand. Your mantle is not for sale. Your blessing cannot be bought. Generosity is simply a way of saying, I want others to find the same light I've found. Now, return to the mantle itself. When you put on new clothing, you often stand straighter, walk with more confidence, even before anyone notices. So it is with this mantle. Heaven sees it, and soon the earth will too. The way people respond to you will change. The opportunities presented to you will shift. Even the way you see yourself will transform. Because a mantle reshapes identity. There will be moments you question, am I worthy of this? The answer is simple. You are not here by accident. The one who places the mantle knows who you are, what you have endured, and where you are going. The mantle is not about worthiness, it is about calling. So embrace this holy moment. Walk with courage, clothed in authority. And if your spirit is stirred, consider it your joy to add your stone, your drop of oil, your plank on the bridge through a like, a share, a subscription, or even a donation freely given. Together, we sustain the fire, and together we honor the one who has clothed us. Chosen one, the mantle rests upon you now. Lift your head, square your shoulders, and step forward. The exchange is complete, and your new season has begun. Chosen one, the mantle rests upon you now. Lift your head, square your shoulders, and step forward. The exchange is complete, and your new season has begun. And as you walk, remember, every step forward is not just for you. It is for those who will follow your trail of faith, courage, and obedience. Chosen one, there comes a time when everything that once seemed scattered suddenly falls into place. That time is called alignment. Heaven orchestrates what your strength could never coordinate, arranging people, timing, and opportunities in ways that astonish even the most skeptical heart. This is not coincidence. This is acceleration. For years, you may have felt out of sync. While others moved ahead, you seemed delayed. While doors opened for them, yours remained shut. You wondered if you missed your chance, if somehow your timing was broken. But the truth is this: you were not behind. You were being prepared. Alignment requires waiting until every piece of the puzzle is ready. The Apostle Paul wrote in Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." And notice the words, all things. Not some, not most, but all, even the painful delays, the confusing detours, the seasons that felt wasted, each is being woven into the fabric of your alignment. I once knew a man who longed to start a business. Every attempt failed. Wrong partners, poor timing, lack of resources. Discouragement grew until he nearly gave up. Then, years later, an unexpected opportunity appeared. It was as if every lesson from failure became the exact knowledge he needed. The right partner showed up. Doors opened. Resources flowed. Within months, what he had struggled to build for years suddenly came together with ease. That is the power of sudden alignment. Chosen one. Expect this. What took years to resist and wrestle with may suddenly shift in a moment. People will call it luck, but you will know better. It is divine order. Heaven has been positioning resources quietly, like chess pieces on a board, and now the moves will make sense. Think of an orchestra tuning before a performance. The sound is chaotic, strings and horns clashing in disarray. But when the conductor lifts his hand, the noise dissolves into harmony. That is what God is doing in your life. He is the conductor, aligning every instrument so that your story plays as a symphony. Alignment often feels like acceleration. Opportunities that once crawled now sprint. Relationships that once strained now flow easily. Paths that seemed blocked now open in succession. You may feel overwhelmed, but remember, acceleration is not to exhaust you, it is to carry you, like a wind filling a sail. Alignment pushes you further than your strength could, but with alignment comes responsibility. You must recognize the shift. Some miss it because they are so used to struggle that they cannot accept ease. They sabotage their own blessing, doubting that it could really be this smooth. Do not fall into that trap. Receive alignment with humility and gratitude. I want you to picture a lock and key. For years, you may have held the right key, but the lock was not ready. Every twist felt like failure. Yet when the time arrives, one effortless turn opens what was closed. That is the beauty of God's timing. Chosen one. Alignment also brings divine connections. People you never expected will step into your path, carrying answers to prayers you whispered years ago. Some will speak words that confirm what God already told you. Others will offer resources you did not ask for. These are not coincidences, they are appointments. Even your inner world will align. Confusion will lift. Clarity will sharpen. And decisions that once felt overwhelming will suddenly seem simple. It is not because the road is free of challenge, but because your spirit is in rhythm with heaven's cadence. There will still be opposition. Remember Paul's words. The great door of opportunity often comes with resistance, but opposition is no longer a sign of misdirection. It is confirmation that you are in the right place. Alignment does not remove enemies, it renders them powerless. So, walk with confidence. The pieces are fitting together. The lock is turning. The symphony is beginning. What was scattered is uniting. What was delayed is arriving. What was broken is mending. Chosen one. Alignment is here. Step into it. Not with fear, but with faith. For the hand that guided you through wilderness is the same hand conducting your breakthrough. Chosen one. Alignment is here. Step into it. Not with fear, but with faith. For the hand that guided you through wilderness is the same hand conducting your breakthrough. And remember this, sudden alignment does not erase your journey, it redeems it. Every delay becomes proof of patience. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every tear becomes seed for the harvest. Now, unfolding. Chosen one. There is one more work God is doing within you before the full release of blessing unfolds. He is clearing spiritual debt, not the kind written on paper, but the invisible burdens that have followed you like shadows: regret, shame, unresolved guilt, unspoken vows, and lingering attachments to things that no longer belong in your life. These are debts of the heart and spirit, and they must be released so you can run free. Debt is more than what you owe, it is what weighs you down. When you hold on to mistakes of the past, you walk as though chains are wrapped around your ankles. When you cling to unforgiveness, bitterness becomes interest that grows heavier over time. Heaven does not want you bound to old accounts. The ledger of your soul is being wiped clean. The Word of God declares in the book of Colossians, chapter 2, verse 14, He forgave us all our sins, having cancelled the charge of our legal indebtedness, which stood against us and condemned us. He has taken it away, nailing it to the cross. And this is the truth you must hold tightly. The cross is not a symbol of partial freedom, it is total cancellation. The spiritual debt that once accused you has already been nailed down, already paid in full. Yet sometimes you continue living as if the account is still open. Today, heaven reminds you it is finished. I remember the story of a young man who carried deep shame from choices he made years earlier. Even after turning his life to God, he felt haunted. He kept waiting for punishment, as though judgment were chasing him. One night, while praying, he saw a vision of a courtroom. A prosecutor listed every mistake he had ever made. His head hung in shame until suddenly the judge lifted his hand and declared, "Case dismissed. The debt is cancelled." The gavel struck, and peace flooded his soul. That moment changed him forever. Chosen one. That story belongs to you as well. You have been acquitted. The chains of past mistakes cannot bind you anymore. The spiritual creditors have no authority to demand from you what has already been paid by Christ. But here is where you must take an active step. Clearing debt is not only about receiving forgiveness, it is also about releasing others. If you hold someone else in the prison of your unforgiveness, you remain tied to them by invisible chains. Forgiveness is the scissors that cut the cord. You are not excusing their wrong. You are choosing freedom over bitterness. Think of your heart like a house. Every room filled with old debt notes leaves no space for new furniture. God is entering the house of your heart, tearing up those notes, sweeping away the dust, and preparing room for peace and joy. This process may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary for the blessing to rest securely upon you. There is also the matter of hidden vows, words you spoke in pain. "I will never trust again," or "I will always be alone," become contracts that keep you bound. Heaven is inviting you to break those agreements today. Speak the opposite. "I will trust again. Because God restores, I will not walk alone. Because God is with me." By doing this, you cancel spiritual contracts that never belonged to you. Chosen one. Your spirit is being cleaned like a riverbed after a storm. The debris is being lifted out, so the waters of blessing can flow unhindered. You may feel the tug of old memories or emotions resurfacing. This is not regression, it is release. They rise to the surface only, so they can leave you for good. And now, I want you to take part in this act of freedom. Write this number in the comments, 444. Why this number? 4 represents stability and foundation. By typing 444, you are declaring, my foundation is cleared, stable, and secured in Christ. My debts are cancelled, and I walk in freedom. This act is not ritual, it is remembrance. It marks a moment where you align with heaven's decree of freedom. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack for years, filled with stones you forgot you picked up. One by one, you remove them: shame, fear, unforgiveness, regret, and suddenly you stand taller, lighter, free to walk without exhaustion. That is what clearing spiritual debt feels like. Chosen one. Do not underestimate the power of this moment. Freedom is not abstract, it is practical. It will show in your peace, in your relationships, in your sleep, in your joy. Where heaviness once sat, lightness will reign. Where guilt once gnawed, gratitude will overflow. Let your heart embrace this truth. You owe nothing to the past. You owe nothing to shame. You owe nothing to fear. The ledger is cleared. The debt is gone. And the road ahead is wide open. Walk it boldly, knowing you are free. Chosen one. Life moves in seasons. Just as the earth circles through spring, summer, autumn, and winter, so too does your spirit pass through cycles of mourning and rejoicing, silence and song, waiting and fulfillment. You have endured long winters of the soul, cold nights, barren fields, branches stripped bare. But hear this, the season is turning. Restoration is coming. In your heart, you may already sense it. What once felt numb now carries a faint stirring. Where there was silence, small melodies begin to hum. Just as the first buds push through the frost, signals of change are appearing in your life. God is restoring your seasons, aligning your days with His perfect rhythm. The Word of God in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1 declares, there is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Morta. This is not just poetry, it is a promise. It means your pain had a time limit. It means your waiting had a purpose. And it means your joy has an appointment on the calendar of heaven. I remember the story of a woman who lost nearly everything in 1 year. Her health declined. Her finances collapsed. And relationships broke apart. She said it felt like living in endless winter. Yet through her tears, she clung to prayer. Slowly, things began to change. Her body strengthened. New doors opened for provision. And new friendships bloomed. Years later, she testified that the very season that once felt like death became the soil where her greatest growth began. Winter had given way to spring. Chosen one. That is the promise for you. Seasons do not stay frozen. The God who commands the sun to rise and set also commands the cycles of your soul. If He allows a season of pruning, it is because He intends a season of flourishing. If He allows you to walk through a valley, it is because He is preparing a mountain of joy. Think of a tree. In winter, it looks lifeless. Yet beneath the soil, roots are deepening, unseen but essential. In spring, blossoms return. And in summer, fruit bursts forth. By autumn, the harvest is gathered. Then the cycle begins again. Each phase serves the next. Likewise, every season of your life has meaning. Even the painful ones have been preparing you for growth you could not yet see. Restoring the seasons also means restoring your perspective. When you see your life only through the lens of winter, despair takes root. But when you remember that seasons turn, you gain hope. The dark night is not permanent. Dawn is inevitable. Chosen one, your tears were not wasted. They watered the soil of tomorrow's joy. Your prayers in silence were like seeds buried deep, waiting for spring. And your endurance was not ignored. It became the testimony that anchors you now. Seasons also teach rhythm. Just as farmers do not plant in harvest time, you must learn to act in step with God's timing. Some doors are not meant to open in winter but will swing wide in spring. Some fruit cannot ripen in haste, but will mature in the summer of your journey. Aligning with seasons saves you from frustration. Imagine a musician playing out of sync with the orchestra. The sound is jarring. But when every instrument follows the conductor's lead, harmony flows. Your life regains harmony when you walk in rhythm with heaven's seasons. So look around you. Notice the subtle shifts. Relationships that drained you may be fading, while new connections quietly emerge. Doors you once banged on may remain closed, while fresh ones open without effort. These are signs the season is changing. Do not cling to winter when spring arrives. Some things must be left behind. Just as snow melts to reveal new life, the bitterness, regret, and sorrow of yesterday cannot travel into your restored season. Let them dissolve. Let joy rise. Chosen one, God is restoring not just your circumstances, but your inner clock. You will laugh again. You will sing again. You will wake with fresh expectation rather than dread. The season of mourning is giving way to dancing, and the season of silence is breaking into song. Stand in this turning point with courage. Just as the earth cannot resist spring when it is time, neither can your life resist the restoration heaven has ordered. The season is shifting, and your heart is about to bloom again. Stand in this turning point with courage. Just as the earth cannot resist spring when it is time, neither can your life resist the restoration heaven has ordered. The season is shifting, and your heart is about to bloom again. And when the bloom comes, remember, every cold night, every barren field was preparation. Without the winter, you would never treasure the fragrance of spring's first blossom. Chosen one, miracles are not always wrapped in thunder and fire. Sometimes they arrive quietly, like dew on the grass, unnoticed by many, but unmistakable to the one who receives them. These are the quiet miracles, small interventions, divine nudges, subtle shifts that confirm you are not walking alone. Often, people look for the spectacular, seas parting, walls falling, heavens opening, but God delights in showing himself through the simple, the hidden, the intimate. A bill unexpectedly paid, a diagnosis reversed without explanation, a conversation that arrives at just the right moment to prevent despair. These are not coincidences, they are fingerprints of heaven on the pages of your life. Scripture says in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6, "But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." And notice this, unseen prayer produces seen results. Quiet petitions bring forth quiet miracles. The God who watches in secret answers in ways that may not shake the world, but will shake your heart with gratitude. I recall the story of a widow who struggled to provide for her children. She prayed daily for food, whispering her needs in secret. One morning, she opened her door and found groceries on her porch. No name, no explanation, only provision. She wept, not because the food was extravagant, but because it was precise, exactly what she had prayed for. That is the beauty of quiet miracles. They are tailored to your whisper. Chosen one. Reflect on your own journey. There were days you thought you barely survived. Yet here you are, breath still in your lungs, light still in your eyes. That itself is a quiet miracle. The car that almost hit you but swerved. The sickness that could have destroyed you but did not. The despair that nearly drowned you but loosened its grip. Each of these was heaven stepping in, not with a shout, but with a gentle hand. Quiet miracles also shape your character. Grand displays inspire awe. But simple intervention cultivate intimacy. When God moves in ways only you notice, it deepens your trust. You realize He is not only God of nations but God of details, the one who counts hairs on your head, the one who bottles every tear. Think of rainfall. Heavy storms draw attention, but steady drizzle nourishes the earth in deeper ways. Quiet miracles are like that drizzle. They soak into your life gradually, transforming deserts into gardens without spectacle. Chosen one. Pay attention to these moments. The text that arrived when you were lonely, the idea that came in prayer, solving a problem you had wrestled with for months, the peace that descended suddenly during a night of fear. These are signs God is near. They may not make headlines, but they make history in your heart. Sometimes, quiet miracles are delayed answers. You pray for one thing and hear silence. But then, months later, you realize the silence was the answer. The relationship that didn't work out, the job that slipped away, these were quiet miracles of protection. What looked like loss was actually preservation. There are also quiet miracles of transformation. The habits you thought you'd never break, slowly loosening. The bitterness that fades into forgiveness. The fear that once controlled you, replaced by courage. No one may see the shift, but you know God has been at work within you. Chosen one. Do not despise the small. Seeds are small, yet they contain forests. A whisper is soft, yet it can carry more power than a shout. Quiet miracles are seeds of testimony. Collect them. Remember them. Speak of them. Imagine keeping a journal, not of spectacular events, but of daily mercies. You write, "Today I laughed again. Today I felt peace. Today a stranger's smile lifted me." Over time, those notes form a tapestry of miracles that reveal God's faithfulness. And this is the truth. Quiet miracles prepare you for greater ones. When you learn to see God in the small, you will not miss Him in the grand. Gratitude for the drizzle makes you ready for the storm of blessing. Chosen one. Pause and look around. What miracle is hiding in plain sight today? Perhaps it is the strength to stand, the clarity to decide, the love that still surrounds you. These are not small at all. They are evidence of heaven's hand. So cherish the quiet miracles. Let them anchor your faith. Let them remind you that God is with you in both the thunder and the whisper. For sometimes the whisper speaks louder than the shout. And sometimes the smallest miracle carries the greatest weight. Chosen one. Obedience is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is as simple as saying yes in the quiet, when no one is watching. Yet these small obediences are anchors that hold your ship steady when storms rage. They secure the harvest of your life, ensuring that what you have planted is not lost, but multiplied. Think of Noah, building an ark in silence while the world laughed. His obedience looked foolish to others, but it became the anchor that preserved generations. Your obedience may feel small, now choosing kindness instead of revenge, faith instead of fear, but each choice builds a vessel strong enough to carry you into your destiny. The Book of James, chapter 1, verse 25. Declares, "But whoever looks intently into the perfect law of freedom and continues in it, not forgetting, but doing, they will be blessed." Notice the connection. Blessing is tied not to hearing alone, but to doing. Your anchors of obedience are what hold the blessing in place when winds of doubt and attack arise. I once knew a woman who felt insignificant in her faith. She was not a preacher, not a leader, just someone who prayed quietly for her family every day. Years later, when crisis struck, her children testified that those hidden prayers had carried them. Her obedience was unseen, but it was her anchor. Chosen one. Think of your own anchors. The moments you said no to temptation, the times you kept serving even when weary, the prayers whispered in the dark. These are anchors holding you steady now, keeping your blessings secure. But anchors are not only for you, they also serve others. Ships tied to a dock rely on one another's anchors to stay steady. In the same way, your obedience provides stability to those around you. A family, a community, even a generation can be steadied by your faithfulness. Now, let me pause to speak to your heart. If this message has stirred you, I invite you to respond, but not out of duty. Rather, as an act of beauty. When you like, share, and subscribe, see it not as a button pressed, but as dropping another anchor into the sea of faith. Each act becomes a weight of stability, ensuring that this vessel of hope remains steady for others to climb aboard. And for those who feel led to give, think of donating as lowering a lantern into the night waters. A single lantern may guide one ship, but when many lanterns burn, an entire harbor is illuminated. Your generosity becomes light, freely offered, helping weary travelers find the dock of safety. And there is yet another way to anchor this moment. By leaving a comment, you carve your initials into the wood of the dock, saying, "I was here. I stood in faith," just as sailors once etched marks on harbors to remember their safe arrival. Your words in the comments become markings of testimony, proof for yourself and encouragement for others who will come after you. Remember, no anchor, no lantern is too small. Whether it is your interaction, your sharing, your prayer, or your gift, each is a piece of obedience that multiplies impact. Together, these acts create a harbor, strong and bright enough for thousands to find rest. Do not see these invitations as demands. See them as opportunities to turn your inner yes into something tangible. Just as obedience in Scripture opened the way for blessing, so your small acts of faithfulness create ripples beyond what you imagine. Chosen one. The call is not about performance. It is about posture. When you align your actions with heaven's whisper, you become unshakable. Even when storms batter, even when critics mock, your anchors hold. Picture a lighthouse standing firm against waves. Its foundation is obedience. Its light is generosity. Its strength is the countless anchors buried deep beneath it. That is the image of your life when you say yes to God's instructions. And remember, anchors are not glamorous. They rest unseen beneath the waves. Yet without them, ships drift and lives are lost. Your unseen obediences, your quiet prayers, your hidden sacrifices are anchors, securing destinies you may never fully see. So take courage. Every step of obedience matters. Every act of generosity is light. Every choice of faith is an anchor. Chosen one. The harvest is secure because your anchors hold. The blessing will not slip away. The waves cannot uproot you, and your life will shine as both harbor and lighthouse, guiding others into safety and hope. And if today your heart feels moved, let your response, whether a like, a share, a subscription, a comment, or even a donation, freely chosen, become not an obligation but a song, a melody of obedience, an anchor of faith, a lantern of love, joining with countless others to light the sea. Chosen one. Every destiny requires divine appointment. These are not chance meetings or random encounters, but orchestrated connections prepared long before you even knew the need. Heaven has ambassadors, men and women sent to cross your path, carrying keys you could not forge, wisdom you could not invent, and provision you could not reach on your own. Sometimes you prayed for a breakthrough, and instead of a miracle appearing out of thin air, a person showed up. That is no accident. God often packages answers inside people. An encourager arrives when despair weighs you down. A mentor appears when you feel lost. A friend stands with you when loneliness screams. These are heaven's ambassadors, and they are as much a miracle as manna or parted seas. The book of Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 17, says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." Chosen one. Sharpening is a holy process. Alone, you may grow dull, but when the right person comes beside you, sparks fly, and your edge returns. Ambassadors carry the ability to sharpen what life has worn down. They may not always arrive with comfort, but they arrive with purpose. I once knew a man who struggled to finish his work. Discouragement consumed him, and every attempt collapsed. Then he met someone by what seemed like coincidence, a stranger on a train who spoke a single word of encouragement that reignited his determination. That stranger became a lifelong friend and business partner. Looking back, he realized that encounter was not luck, but an appointment written in heaven's calendar. Chosen one. You too will meet such people. Some will stay for a lifetime, others for only a season, but each carries something vital. Do not despise short encounters. Even a passing word can shift your entire path. Ambassadors do not always wear crowns. They may appear in simple clothes, in ordinary settings, yet their presence unlocks something extraordinary. At the same time, you must learn to discern. Not everyone who approaches is an ambassador. Some are distractions, designed to drain or delay you. How do you know the difference? Look for fruit. A true ambassador will not pull you away from God's voice. They will echo it. They will not demand your worship. They will point you toward Him. Their words will align with the peace of the Spirit inside you. Picture a key ring with many keys. Some may look similar, but only one will unlock the door. Ambassadors are like that key, fitted precisely for the lock you are facing. When the right person arrives, the door that resisted you will swing open with ease. Chosen one, do not be afraid to walk through those doors. Divine appointments are not random, they are timed. Sometimes you will wonder, why now? Why this person? Trust the timing. God knows when your heart is ready. When the door is aligned, when the ambassador must arrive, there are also moments when you are the ambassador. You may carry the word, the kindness, the encouragement someone else has been crying for. Do not underestimate a simple act. What feels ordinary to you may be extraordinary to them. You are not only a receiver of divine appointments, you are also a carrier. Think of Philip in the book of Acts, sent by the Spirit to meet the Ethiopian official. One conversation on a desert road changed the destiny of a nation. Divine appointments often look small in the moment, but their impact ripples through generations. Chosen one. Expect these encounters. Look for them in the ordinary. The clerk at the store who suddenly speaks a word that confirms your prayer. The stranger who sits beside you and unknowingly echoes God's promise. The friend who arrives at the exact moment you were ready to give up. These are not chance, they are choreography. And when you recognize them, treasure them. Keep record of the words, the moments, the names. Write them down, for they are proof that God is attentive, weaving your story with precision. Above all, walk with discernment and humility. Ambassadors are not saviors, they are vessels. Honor them, but do not idolize them. Receive the gift they bring, but keep your eyes on the giver. Chosen one. Divine appointments and ambassadors are already moving toward you. Even now, footsteps are being ordered. Hearts are being stirred. Schedules are being aligned. The people you need and the people who need you are closer than you realize. Trust the choreography of heaven. Walk with open eyes. And be ready to recognize the key when it is placed in your hand. Chosen one. Every journey has a destination. But with God, the destination is not merely a place, it is a fulfillment. You have walked through valleys, endured deserts, crossed rivers, and climbed mountains. Each step has been guided, each hardship shaping you, each blessing strengthening you. And now, you approach the season of inheritance, not an empty promise, but a tangible reality prepared before the foundation of the world. Inheritance is more than possessions. It is identity confirmed, authority bestowed, and purpose revealed. It is the unveiling of who you were always meant to be. The crown placed on your head after years of carrying the cross. The book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 35. Declares, so do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. Len, this is the heartbeat of inheritance. Confidence is not arrogance. It is assurance rooted in God's promise. When you stand in confidence, you step into what is already yours. I recall the story of a woman who worked tirelessly, yet always felt empty-handed. She believed blessings were for others, not her. But one day, as she prayed, she sensed the Spirit say, "Stop asking for scraps at the table. The table was prepared for you." That revelation changed her life. She stopped approaching God as a beggar and began walking as an heir. Soon, the doors she once feared to knock on began to open. Inheritance required her to change posture from pleading to receiving. Chosen one. That is the shift for you. You are not approaching as one unworthy. You are stepping into what has always been assigned to you. Think of Israel standing at the Jordan River. The wilderness was behind them, the promised land before them. Their inheritance was not just land, it was rest. After years of wandering, they would finally dwell, build, and flourish. Your life mirrors that crossing. The wilderness of striving is closing, and the inheritance of rest and abundance is before you. Inheritance also means restoration. Things you thought were permanently lost are being returned, sometimes in new forms. Broken years become wisdom. Lost opportunities return as better ones. Relationships once shattered are replaced with healthier bonds. Inheritance restores not only what was taken, but what was wasted. Picture a chest locked for generations. Inside are treasures with your name, guarded until the appointed time. That chest is now being opened. You will find strength where weakness drained you, clarity where confusion clouded you, joy where sorrow lingered. These are treasures of inheritance, gifts no thief can steal, no enemy can destroy. Chosen one. Understand this. Inheritance is not about ease. It requires stewardship. Just as Israel had to plant, build, and defend their land, you too must nurture what God entrusts to you. The promise is given, but the cultivation is your part. This is not to burden you, but to empower you. For the Spirit equips you to steward well. Inheritance is also generational. What you receive is not only for you, it flows to those who come after you. Your faith becomes their foundation, your victories, their inheritance. Just as David stored up for Solomon to build the temple, your obedience today lays groundwork for those yet unborn. Do not think too small. Your inheritance is not just survival, it is influence, legacy, and impact. It is the ripple that continues long after your earthly journey ends. Chosen one. Stand tall in this truth. You are not arriving empty-handed. You are stepping into fullness. Every scar becomes a jewel, every tear an offering, every step a testimony. Your inheritance is both reward and responsibility, gift and glory. So lift your eyes. The season of wandering is over. The inheritance is here, not because of your striving, but because of His promise. Not because you demanded, but because you were chosen one. Walk into it. Wear the crown. Carry the scepter. Dwell in the land of promise. And let your life declare to every watcher, seen and unseen, that the God who began this story has brought it to completion. Chosen one. Walk into it. Wear the crown. Carry the scepter. Dwell in the land of promise. And let your life declare to every watcher, seen and unseen, that the God who began this story has brought it to completion. And remember, inheritance is not the end, but the beginning. Every gift entrusted to you is both fulfillment and seed. What you receive today becomes tomorrow's harvest for countless others yet to come. Chosen one, you have walked through every word, step by step, from calling to fulfillment, from labor to rest, from promise to inheritance. Now, pause and breathe. Your journey in this message may be closing, but your journey with God continues. What you have received is not temporary inspiration, but a reminder etched into your spirit. You are chosen, you are covered, and you are crowned. Think of this message as a lamp carried into your night. For a while, it has guided your steps, lit your path, and whispered courage into your heart. But lamps burn brighter when shared. If this word has spoken to you, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, not as routine actions, but as sparks added to the flame, each one extending the light farther than your reach alone. And if you feel led to mark this moment tangibly, you may also leave a comment. Imagine it as carving your testimony into the wood of a great hall, declaring, I stood here, I received, I believe. Your words may be the signpost someone else needs to keep walking. For those stirred to give, see donation, not as transaction, but as participation. It is like pouring oil into the lamp, ensuring the flame does not fade, but continues to burn for others who still wander in darkness. Every drop matters, and together the light becomes unquenchable. Chosen one. You are not leaving empty-handed. You carry promises, rest, alignment, inheritance, and hope. And as you step forward, know this: your best days are not behind you. They are unfolding now, and the light you carry will shine for many.